some of the traditional route like that one had challenges or still have challenges. Now we have to develop new routes. The business that the enterprise that are in cargo business have now been able to increase their business costs, hence passing it on to consumers and customers.
Yeah. So when you look at this route, right, it's a route that comes obviously from Alexandria and then comes down through what goes towards the Horn of Africa, right? Now, the Arab League is meeting in Egypt, where this route actually starts from, to discuss this thing. Are they discussing talking to their fellow Arab League member, Yemen? Or are they discussing onslaught on Israel for the sake of trade?
I think in their thinking they think they could do away. They could actually put some form of pressure in Israel and do away with talks. Yeah. The ultimate goal here, I think, for both sides is always about taking it all. So if you look at even the alternative routes that are there, the development of infrastructure in those routes is actually not at par with the traditional route that we know. So if there was some form of seriousness, we could be hearing some form of diversion towards that route and development of infrastructure in some of the new routes.
All right. So when you look at these routes, right, the reason why it's the most used route is because shipping has been centralized to a few other countries. But in reality, when you look at the map, one will just say, well, why don't this ship come straight from China, straight without going through the Middle East, past India, come straight into Africa? Why has that route never made profit? Is it because cargo must drop somewhere?
Yeah, I think, like I said, it goes back to infrastructural development. Yeah. Because even in our scenario in Botswana, road transportation, we know that there are routes that are shortcuts, that we usually call shortcuts. But because of infrastructural development, be it road or stops within that route, if they are not developed, then you are forced to take the longer route.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and actually there actually is no choice, because when you look at the filling station of all ships is Djibouti, which is very near to the Red Sea Canal as well. Now, traditionally, and when you know history, ships from Europe used to come through our western side of the belt down to Cape Town towards India, right? Why did we stop that route?
Particularly, when you do planning as countries, sometimes you lag behind in terms of foreseeing some of the security threats that could come, or just relying on one route. The assumption was that the route will forever be there, but little did we know that the conflict such as this one would drag for so many decades.
All right. African trade relies mostly on, obviously, importations, and as you said, people who are doing e-commerce also rely on that. What does this say now about us as Africa? Because we were hit by COVID, we suffered. We were hit by Russia, Ukraine, we suffered. Now we are being hit by the Middle Eastern conflict, and we're suffering even more. What does it say about Africa now?
I think it speaks to the issue of intra-trade that we know that the AU has been trying to do through the Africa Trade Agreement. As you know, Botswana is actually starting trading in that after this month, in April. Some of the minerals and some of the raw products that are used to do the final products that we use in Botswana and the rest of Africa, they come from our continent. So I think it says to Africa, we might as well start setting up our own factories, setting up plants that could actually turn our raw products into the final products that we need. Yeah. And
again, when you look at it, if you look at e-commerce, if you are doing e-commerce on a small scale, you won't feel the pain, because that's mostly freight. And Zimbabwe now somehow has got a very nice direct freight line, right, in terms of air. That's easy. But the people who are doing bigger things, that's construction equipment, that's big food production, that's machinery, are the ones who are going to suffer, right? How long would you think this would take?
I think it would take several months, but what is consoling, like I said, is the call that was made by the US yesterday to Israel. If Israel could listen to the US, then we could see some form of shift towards peace in that region, and possibly the Red Sea conflict would start moving towards the direction that we all desire, where there's actually free movement of goods and there isn't much of attacks that we see there. So the response that is going to be done by Israel, but also, like you said, the meeting by the Arab states would also be very crucial to what's going to happen in the next few months.
All right. So now this comes the fear, right? Let's say America manages to pat down Israel, and Israel says, okay, we'll stop the onslaught. Now, you are telling the rebels who have been earning an income from shooting and hijacking ships that now go back into land, right? Don't you think we've created now with this, we've created a new line of piracy on that route? Remember, you already got Somali pirates, you already got the West African pirates, and now the Arabs might go into a piracy now. The rebels who are going to break away from the Houthi stand.
Yeah, obviously, I don't think it is going to be an issue of just saying seize down and there isn't alternative.
You are affecting people's business.
Yes, there has to be some form of alternative. You have to find a strategy of how do you distract them in the meantime while you find a long-term solution to whatever that is causing that conflict.
Yeah. I mean, I think already this has created an opportunity for pirates. There is a possibility that now even the guys from Al-Shabaab, because they're not so far, might feel, okay, because there's already something going on there, for brotherly love, let's go and help them stop this. So would that then not cost more investment on the U.S.? Already they've tried to attack Yemen and they've failed at doing that. Won't it cost them more?
Probably the reason why Biden made the call yesterday is because they're already feeling the pinch. And obviously they see the direction that is going, that there's no... when they assess the whole situation, for the U.S. to actually go out in public like they did yesterday to make that kind of call,
especially against Israel.
Yeah, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of humility, because we know that from the onset, U.S. was the first one to say to Israel that you are our son. We are going to give you the assets that you need to defend yourself, and that's exactly what they did.
All right. So now let's look at how this is obviously affecting the trickling down bit. Africans, as I said, in Baatweng rely primarily on this. Is there an alternative in the meantime in terms of trying to do your e-commerce or your international trade?
Obviously, there are other means of transportation, which is expensive. Which is expensive. So to then go back to airlines and different states and to see how do they share the loss. That's one alternative for them to say they need to share the loss in terms of transportation, because as it stands, the air cargo is the best possible alternative to the sea transportation. So that's the one area that countries and different airlines need to start to think about.
All right.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much, sir. I think we look forward to seeing. Cyprus now has also said, you know what, we are tired of this. So let's look forward to seeing what will happen as it unfolds. Thank you very much for your time.